Tales of the Jedi is finally here, and we need to break it down starting with Episode 1, Life and Death, so let's get straight into it. We begin with the birth of Ahsoka, and honestly, the artwork, the cinematography, and especially the music absolutely took my breath away. We see the Togruta village that Ahsoka was born in, and this is located on the planet Shili. Pav Ti, Ahsoka's mother, takes Ahsoka out for their first hunt to teach her the way of life and the way of death. Overall, it's a very peaceful start. On their way to the forest, they stop to talk to the village elder Gantika, who is feeding what looks a lot like Loth Cats, except these ones have stubbier ears and act more like dogs, so perhaps they are a distant cousin. The elder asks if it has really been more than a year already, indicating that Ahsoka is already 1 year old. The elder blesses them with some blue paint and off they go. As they head off, we see that Pav Ti is carrying a weapon. This looks a whole lot like the 6.2 AUG-2 hunting rifle, the very same one used by Luke when he was searching for R2-D2 on Tatooine. As Ahsoka and her mother walk through the woods, her mother tells her,
"Everywhere there is life. Value it. Honor it."
Which, interestingly enough, sounds very similar to the Jedi philosophy and how the Jedi view the world around them. The two play with some gigantic dandelions before spotting some kaibuk, a deer-like species native to the planet of Shili. In legends, these creatures were actually natives on Kashyyyk, and the very same creature Yoda rode into battle during the Battle of Coruscant, so perhaps foreshadowing Ahsoka's future path crossing with that of Yoda. Pav Ti takes a shot and finds her mark. As the two get close to the kaibuk, Ahsoka instinctively withdraws from it. This might be due to Ahsoka's affinity with the Force, perhaps being able to sense life fading away from the kaibuk. And the music here adds so much more gravity to the death of the kaibuk, giving us a sense of how momentous this moment is, as not only is this Ahsoka's first encounter with death, but the scent of the kaibuk would attract a far greater danger, one which would set Ahsoka onto a path of the Jedi. As the tiger sneaks up on Ahsoka and her mother, Ahsoka first notices the creature's presence and her mother turns around to confront the creature. As the two battle each other, the village is alerted to the commotion. And in this whole scene, you really have to commend Pav Ti's fighting skills, being able to keep up with the tiger, which might suggest to us that she was somewhat force sensitive as well, although much too old to be trained as a Jedi. This would also explain where Ahsoka got her force sensitivity from. The tiger picks up Ahsoka and rushes into the forest as the group of villagers arrive. As the tiger brings Ahsoka further into its lair, it sets her down and begins to lick its wounds inflicted by Pav Ti in their earlier battle. The tiger tries to scare Ahsoka with a roar, but the baby Ahsoka isn't fazed by it at all. And while the baby might not be able to fully comprehend what is going on, this calmness in Ahsoka is what allows her to reach out with the Force to make a connection with the tiger, using a Force power known as Animal Bond or Beast Control, allowing the user to influence the beast to help the user's cause. It's a pretty widespread ability, and we've seen the likes of Anakin use it during the Battle of Geonosis. Back at the village, the villagers still cannot find Ahsoka, but like an absolute badass, Ahsoka rides back into town on top of a tiger. Much to the amazement of the villagers, the tiger is completely passive, and Pav Ti thanks the tiger for returning Ahsoka home. And if you pay close attention to the eyes of the tiger, you can sort of see its thought process and contemplation behind it. Just a cool little detail. The elder proclaims Ahsoka to be a Jedi, understanding that Ahsoka's survival was due to her ability to control the Force. Although it wasn't shown in the episode, 2 years later, Ahsoka would be discovered by Plo Koon, who would then bring her to the Jedi Temple. However, not before being kidnapped briefly by a Jedi imposter. Plo Koon would later arrive and rescue Ahsoka from the ordeal. This encounter would lead Ahsoka to form a very close connection with the Jedi Master. So that was the breakdown for episode 1 of the Tales of the Jedi, and I have to say that this first episode was simply amazing. Despite the relatively simple narrative structure and plot, it manages to deliver so much emotion and highlight the broad themes and motifs of Star Wars that you really feel at home with it. And it's such a sweet origin for Ahsoka as well. I mean, I just melted every time I looked into baby Ahsoka's eyes. I know that this was a very short breakdown for this episode, but honestly there wasn't much in terms of Easter eggs or cameos. These episodes are usually quite short and concise, so depending on which episode, the breakdown length may vary. So without waiting any further, I will see you in the next episode breakdown. I am the Lost Acolyte,
and I have spoken.